Hey guys, it's Caleb. Today in the shop, or on the lift, we have the new Ford F-150 Lightning. We've got a new mud flap kit for it, so let's go ahead and show you how to install it. Here are the tools that you'll need for install. You'll need a drill with a 3/8 drill bit to drill through the liner on the rear. You'll need a Phillips head, a 4mm Allen head. You'll need a 10mm wrench or socket. You'll also need a 7mm wrench or socket, and we're just going to be utilizing this power tool. And then you'll need a set of side cutters or pliers to help remove the inserts. Here we have your front laid out. What you'll get in your kit is your front flap and your front mount plate, and then the hardware. We'll go ahead and put a breakdown of that hardware on the screen right now. Before heading to the vehicle, we're going to go ahead and prep our mount plate. We're going to take our flange nuts and we're going to press those in from the etch side into these hex-shaped holes. Then we're going to take it and we're going to bend this small tab forward away from the etch side. So this is going to mount inside your fender like so, utilizing the factory point here and utilizing this point here as a pass-through. Now let's go ahead and head over to the vehicle and begin installing. Here we are at the front fender. We're going to begin by removing the factory mounting screws right here, and right here. These are going to hold the liner. We're going to be reusing the clips that are on those liners. We're just going to be replacing these bottom two screws. And then the top screw we're going to reuse and put a 1.25" washer on it when we mount the bracket. So now that we've got those out of the way, we'll hold on to one and we'll set the other two aside. Now we're going to go ahead, grab our mount plate, grab the one OEM screw that we're going to reuse, place it through a washer, and we're going to put it through the bracket up here. We're going to take our bracket, tucking it behind the fender. Now we're going to align this upper hole right here. We're going to go ahead and get that started. And we can go ahead, tuck it in there. Grab our 7mm, which is what these factory screws are. They're a 7mm head, so I'm going to go ahead and get that just snug. We're not going to fully tighten it quite yet, so that way we still have a little bit of adjustability. So we can get the bottom hole lined up with this outer bottom hole right here. It's going to pass through the fender, and then it's going to pass through the mount plate, and then it's going to go into the factory clip on the liner. To help with alignment, I like to take one of our 1.25" number 8 screws that are provided in the kit, and we'll go ahead and get that bottom hole lined up. You may have to lift the bracket up, but align it so you can see the clip behind it, and then we're just going to go ahead and get that screw started, and then we're able to pull that screw out and hold it kind of in place, and that's going to keep this from shifting. And our flap, the hole is large enough to go over top of that. So now we're going to go ahead, grab our other number 8 screw with 1.25" washer, and we're going to align this outer hole, popping that over the screw there, and align the inner one and get that started by hand going into that factory clip. Now we're going to take our Phillips head screwdriver and we're going to tighten that inner mount on the bottom. There we go. I want that just barely tight so that it holds the liner in place, but loose enough that we are still able to move our flap around. Now we're going to go ahead, take our M6 button heads and put them on a washer. I like to take the number 4 Allen key. We're just using a bit, so I like to take the bit so that I can place the screw on it and just use my hands to get those started. We're going to get these upper 3 mount points started, and then we'll take that one out and put a washer on that bottom outer one right here. So at this point we're just getting everything aligned, getting it all softly into place. Alright, now that we've got everything lightly in place, we're still able to move our flap. We have a majority of all the screws in place. We'll go ahead, undo this one, pull it out, and we'll put it through an 1¼ inch washer, and now we're going to put that right back in and get that started into the factory clip. Now get that just barely snugged up, and now at this point we're able to go ahead, take our flap, adjust it in and out. You can also check the bottom with a level if you'd like, or just take a step back, look at it, make sure it looks good. We'll get it set to where we want it, and now we're going to fully tighten down all of our hardware. Now with all the flap hardware fully secured, we'll go ahead, grab our 7mm socket and fully tighten that upper mount on the mount plate. Alright, that's the completed install. You can repeat these same steps on the other side. Now let's go ahead and jump to the rear. Here we have the rear laid out. What you'll get in your kit is your main flap, you'll get your mount plate, and then you'll get a lower L bracket included in your hardware. We'll go ahead and put a breakdown of that hardware on the screen right now. Before we head over to the car, we're going to prep a few things on the bench. We're going to take our large XL slotted bracket and our M6 metal clip. We're going to take it, I'm going to put the clip over this hole right here so that the extruded portion is on the same plane as this shorter arm with the slot. And then we're going to take our flange nuts and we're going to press them in from the etch side, or the opposite side of how the T-nuts are pre-pressed into your mount plate. Now with those pressed in, we can go ahead, and another little tip that we like to do just to make the rear install easier is we're going to take our 25 and our 15mm spacer, and we're just going to throw some black tape around the edge here just to keep these together. This is just going to help make install a little easier. It's not necessary, you can just stack them and put them over your long screw during install, but a little piece of tape will help make it so that it is easier to do. Go ahead, just get those taped together. Now we have a completed 40mm spacer. Now you're ready to head over to the vehicle and begin installing. Here we are at the rear of the vehicle. What we're going to do is begin by removing some factory OEM inserts, flush cutting the back side of this insert right here, just so that it clearances the space behind it. And we're going to remove the other two from here, and another one from the bottom down here. Then after that, we're going to jump inside the fender. Then you'll also want to remove this large insert from the liner down here. You may need to use pliers or insert pullers or the side cutters. We'll go ahead, get this large insert out of the way, and that'll be our bottom mount hole for our mount plate. Now let's go ahead and match drill the liner up here from the back side. We'll show you what hole to use, what drill bit to use, and we'll knock that one out, and then you're ready to begin mounting. So the corresponding holes that we'll be using to mount the mount plate, you'll have this slot here, and next to it will be the circle hole here, which is where that insert came out of on the bottom. Then we'll go ahead and use this hole up here in the fender as our guide to take our drill, our 3/8 drill bit, and drill from this side through to that side, so that way we can get a hole that's perfectly aligned with that mount point there. Now to begin mounting, after we've removed these inserts here, here, and here, we're going to take our slotted L bracket, we're going to place it like so, so that it goes forward towards the front of the vehicle and then up, and we're going to place our screw through our small 20mm screw with dress washer coming up through the bottom, and then we're going to place our M6 lock nut on the top here. started. As a base alignment, you want it to follow the edge of the body right here. And then we're just going to get that lightly snugged up so that the bracket is, with some force, it's still able to kind of slide around. So it'll hold its position right there, and then we'll fully tighten it later. Now we're going to go ahead and begin mounting our mount plate. To begin mounting the mount plate, we're going to take our long 60mm flathead, putting it through a dress washer, putting it through a large material washer as well, and that's going to come from the back side, going through to the front side. We're going to start with this bottom one. We're going to take our spacers. This is the 25 and 15mm to make a 40mm spacer. And then we're going to take our mount plate here, and we're going to place it so that it sits like this, so that the T-nuts, the ends of them, are facing the rear of the vehicle. We're going to align the bottom T-nut with this bottom hole here. Getting that started by hand. Now we're going to repeat that same thing for the upper hole. Taking our long screw, placing it through from the back side here, putting our spacer on it. Now when you're doing this, you'll need to tuck your mount plate behind the edge of the fender. And then get that started into the T-nut, like so. Get it started by hand. Now to help us with alignment, we're going to take our long 40mm button head screw. We're going to place this through the mount plate into the clip on the L bracket here. We'll go ahead and get our mount plate adjusted so that the flange nuts right here are just barely along the edge of the fender. If they're behind the edge of the fender, it will be hard for the screw to get into it, so you want it to be just barely outside the fender right here. So now we're just going to go ahead and lightly tighten this mount plate down. Just tighten down by hand. Alright, now that we've got that lightly in place, we can come back out to the top of the fender and begin mounting our flap. Now to begin mounting our flap, we're going to grab our 2-inch washer, an 1.25-inch washer, our 10mm spacer, and we're going to pull out our long button head screw right here. And we're going to take it, place it through the 2-inch washer. That's going to be on the inside of the flap, or the tire side of the flap. Then we'll put our 1.25-inch washer and our 10mm spacer. We'll line that back up. We'll screw that back into that M6 clip on the bracket. An easier way to do this, if you're having troubles, is to tilt your flap so that the top is facing towards you on the outside, and then you will be able to watch and see your alignment. So now that we've got that started by hand, we can swing it back up into position, grab our 3 25mm button heads with 1.25-inch washers, and then we'll just begin by taking it. We're going to align the top one with the top M6 nut on the mount plate in here. And just get these started by hand. Just looking through the slot in the flap to check alignment, make sure everything is good. Alright, now that we've got the flap lightly in place, all the screws are in their counterparts, we're going to go ahead and fully tighten down our L bracket and our mount plate from the bottom and back side. Bracket is fully tightened. We'll fully tighten the mount plate. Now our mount plate is fully tightened. Now we'll resume back up inside the fender and fully tighten the flap. Now that we have our mount plate and our bracket fully tightened, we are now able, with the flap still loose, able to set our adjustment. You can always check the bottom with a level, or take it a step back, get it to the position that you want. So we're going to go ahead, get that into the position that we want, and now we're just going to go ahead and fully tighten all of our mount points down. Alright, now we've got all our mount points fully tightened down. That completes the install on the rear. You can repeat these same steps on the other side. Thanks for watching.